So let me welcome the audience today. I hope everybody and their families are staying safe and healthy through these difficult times. Um, we have a very exciting session today. I would like to introduce you to Matt Hoag. Matt has been with Koch Industries for over 20 years now, and he is the key enterprise architect at Koch. Matt met us first time when we were doing Viptela, and he was instrumental along with his team to deploy the Viptela solution, which is one of the largest and the most complex SD-WAN deployments in the industry. And they've had a great experience with the Viptela solution, which was acquired by Cisco in 2017. When we started Alkira in 2018, Matt realized and very quickly reached out to us. We had our first meeting, I think, somewhere in the middle of 2018, and we've been working on this solution together since that time. So Matt and team at Koch, the Koch Global Services team, have been instrumental in helping us refine our solution to the point that it is enterprise ready, it's enterprise class, and many customers are deploying our solution now. This is just the beginning and the first customer that we are bringing to you to talk about their experience with the Alkira network cloud. So with that, let me hand it to Matt. Matt, please take us through your journey in your experience with the deployment and the benefits that you have achieved with the Alkira solution.
Right. Thanks, Amir. I am happy to be here on stage with you today, even if it is just virtual. Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Hoag. I'm a senior enterprise architect for Koch, and I've been with the company for about 20 years. I've seen a lot of changes in that time, but nothing compares with the rate of change and impact to the business that we're seeing today. I'll start with a little bit of background on our enterprise. Koch Industries is one of the largest privately held companies in America, and we're based in Wichita, Kansas. It's a very diverse group of companies that ranges from oil and gas to ranching and fertilizers to consumer products to software and data analytics. While we reinvest a significant portion of our earnings into our businesses, in the past 6 years, we've made nearly $30 billion in technology-related investments alone. To give you a flavor for our network, here's some high-level statistics. We operate 7 global networks, not just one. This is largely due to business segmentation as well as significant growth through acquisitions. We have roughly 700 sites across 70 countries, hundreds of thousands of switch ports, tens of thousands of access points, thousands of routers and firewalls, and thousands of applications. Our network isn't necessarily the biggest or the most complex, and I'm certainly not going to tell you that we've done everything right and that we never have outages, but I would like to walk you through our journey to the cloud networking and explain some of the key challenges that we've faced, as well as the blood, sweat, and tears and money that it's taken to get here. Hopefully through all this, I can connect you with a better way wherever you are in your journey. So before all this started, we had a pretty traditional MPLS-based network that was anchored to our primary data centers, and most of our sites had pretty limited bandwidth. And nearly all of our internet ingress and egress was centralized. Also, the vast majority of our business applications were hosted in the data center. But then came the transformation imperative. In order to stay relevant in the digital age, we really needed to think and operate our businesses differently. My team was created, and we were tasked with preparing our foundational technologies, including the global network, for the rapidly growing digital business demands. We developed plans up and down the IT stack to decouple our businesses from the data center and to implement cloud-native capabilities that could be deployed and adapted at the speed of business, not at the speed of traditional IT. On the network front, our first major transformation was deploying the Viptela SD-WAN, and this is where we first met Amir and his team. We increased bandwidth by an average of 7x across 500 of our locations, and we also implemented direct internet access at most of those sites. We've also begun a push to dramatically improve wired and wireless connectivity at many of our manufacturing facilities. At that point, Our application teams were already testing capabilities and learning the ropes in AWS, which is our preferred cloud provider. But we quickly realized that if we wanted to move large workloads to the cloud or do any serious data replication, simple VPN connections just weren't going to cut it. And if we were going to put in high-speed direct connect circuits and enable production workloads, we're going to need a better plan for resiliency and redundancy. So we developed a vision to deploy cloud on-ramps that we called our transport hubs. Our roadmap for this vision included 3 high-level versions of the transport hubs. Version 1 was physical. These were designed really to connect our data and applications to the cloud. Version 2, virtual, designed to improve performance for our remote sites and end users. And version 3 was transport hub as a service, really designed to deploy quickly and at scale. So our network engineers began designing our transport hub version 1, which focused on improving connectivity at our primary data centers. We implemented data center interconnects to create a high-speed underlay. We leveraged both MPLS and internet circuits to bring in WAN sites, and we provisioned high-speed direct connects to AWS. This design gave us the bandwidth and resilience we needed to move production workloads to the cloud. If you take into account the approvals, engineering design, hardware procurement, circuit delivery, installation, configuration, testing, all of that, version 1 took us about 18 months and over $2 million to fully implement. At that point, our business application teams were off to the races, leveraging new cloud capabilities and moving workloads to the cloud. But Transport Hub version 1 continued to keep our network rooted in the data center. In order to break ties with the data center and improve application performance and user experience, we really needed to virtually replicate our physical transport hubs in the cloud and allow our users and sites to directly access those workloads through the SD-WAN. So development and deployment of the first version 2 transport hub only took about 6 months, which was a great improvement over the 18 months for version 1. Much of that time was spent learning the network constructs of AWS and overcoming some of their constraints. Due to our business segmentation and some of the limitations of cloud networking, each of our business networks would have to have their own version 2 transport hub, and that limitation is per region where we deployed. So today, we run 10 of our version 2 transport hubs across 2 AWS regions in the US. And again, this is just AWS. We hadn't yet branched out into Azure or GCP, and we think we could probably get the time down on those for under 6 months if we wanted to expand to another cloud. But as many of you are well aware, cloud networking is fundamentally different from traditional networks in many ways, and each cloud provider implements their version of networking a bit different from the rest. They each have their own intricacies and limitations. At this point in our journey, we had enabled our businesses to achieve access valuable cloud capabilities and deploy them in a way that no longer anchored us to our data centers. But while we had solved these business and technology challenges, we found that we had created a highly complex set of solutions. So complex, in fact, that only 4 or 5 of our network engineers were really fully connected to the overall architecture. We were also still only in a single cloud with no plans to expand the solution to other clouds. On top of all that, we had no idea how to get to Transport Hub version 3, which in our vision was Transport Hub as a service. We talked to dozens of technology providers, including all the ones that you're thinking of right now, and no one had what we were looking for. In mid-2018, I heard that Amir was working on another startup, so I reached out to him to see what it was all about. When he explained the concept of Alkira to me, I was excited. I'd finally found a technology provider who shared my vision of the network cloud. Seamless connectivity, full integration of higher level services, end-to-end visibility and governance with high availability, disaster recovery, and day 2 services built right in. On top of the aligned vision, we had already formed a great working relationship with Amir and his team during the days at Viptela. Navigating challenging transformations together like we did in the early days of SD-WAN can build a strong relationship. So we quickly started pulling regular meetings together, and we worked with the Alkira team for the next year. We helped connect them to the challenges in our current environment. We talked through many different use cases and performance expectations, and through it all, we really kept a line on that vision of as a service. Then, one beautiful fall day in September of 2019, in this innocent-looking conference room in Reno, Nevada, we finally got our hands on a preview version of the Alkira platform. I show you this to help paint the picture that we weren't all huddled in the data center, and we weren't individually poring over lines of automation code, and we weren't surrounded by a lab full of gear. It was just a handful of people looking at the Alkira dashboard on the big screen. What had taken us over 2 years to evolve in our Transport Hub version 1 and version 2 deployments, we were able to recreate with the Alkira software in a single afternoon. One of our working engineers who hadn't been involved with Alkira before this, he looked over at us and he said, "Why haven't you told me about this sooner?" Perhaps another way to say it is, we were able to go from this mass of complexity and months worth of work to this simplified draw your network and deploy it in a single afternoon with beta software. So this really is a screenshot of our Alkira dashboard, and this is the interface you use to design and deploy your cloud network, including a marketplace to seamlessly insert network and security services, as well as day 2 operational capabilities such as statistics and alerting. And yeah, this thing's easier to use than Visio. So we've begun deploying production workloads on the Alkira platform. We started with a greenfield approach with a few workloads that weren't necessarily already connected to a transport hub. For these, we found the deployments to be very simple. We're currently working towards replacing our existing transport hubs, but as is usually the case, we're having to unwind some technical debt in our own environment, and we're also working with the Alkira team on a couple feature enhancements. Things are looking really good at this point. We're targeting replacing our 10 existing transport hubs with just 2 Alkira CXPs. This will greatly reduce the amount of virtual infrastructure we run, manage, and pay for. It should also simplify operations in our cloud network environment. Not only does the Alkira platform provide these powerful capabilities to a much broader range of IT professionals, but it does it as a service with a team of engineers standing behind it. One other thing to point out on this interface, if you look closely there in the middle box on the right, you'll see the Azure logo. Up until now, I've told you we were exclusively in AWS, and that was true until just a few short weeks ago. While we were deploying some of our first production workloads on the platform, one of our teams had an urgent request to enable a capability in Azure. Prior to Alkira, we would have told them it would take 3 to 6 months to get to a production-ready on-ramp to a new cloud. But with Alkira, we were able to stand it up in a single day. Once the Azure account was provisioned, the network provisioning itself only took a few minutes. Our cloud platform and application teams weren't even ready yet. Think about that for just a minute. The network team was no longer the long pole in the tent. However, we had to warn the application team that they would likely see some performance problems. I assume most of you are familiar with the concept of data gravity. That is, the larger the data sets, the more data pulls apps and services toward it to satisfy the needs of high throughput and low latency. So we warned our application team that with the services in Azure and the data in AWS, performance probably wasn't going to be great. Until we started doing some testing. What we found was, through the Alkira platform, the services in Azure were seeing single-digit latency and well over 200 megs of sustained throughput to data stored in AWS. This was a real eureka moment for us when we first discovered anti-gravity for data. And in talking with the Alkira team, they're already making improvements to throughput with the goal of hitting gigabit speeds in the near future. This is going to enable many new opportunities for leveraging multi-cloud services. The Alkira platform also gives us an easy avenue to expand our cloud footprint globally. We just recently spun up a region in India. Now, Alkira hadn't expanded their platform into India yet based on the fact that they had no customer demand for the region. So there's 2 pretty cool learnings coming out of this. First, Alkira's new CXP in India was ready for us faster than I could have possibly imagined. And second, now that they have a presence there for Koch, they can leverage that for any customer. So you're welcome. Now, as we look to the future in Koch's cloud journey, we see additional network service challenges that we'd like to address in the cloud. We've talked to the Alkira team about implementing things like advanced routing capabilities, such as route policies, shared services, cross-segment routing, cloud DMZs, and then also things like various NAT scenarios, voice gateways, zero trust network access, and so on. Alkira continuously looks for new use cases and business problems that they can help us solve, and they're working on some really interesting new capabilities as well. In summary, the Alkira team has been great to work with. They're smart, they're customer focused, and just an all-around great partner. In our Alkira implementations at Koch, we're taking our cloud network design and implementation from just months to days, sometimes even hours, with the actual network provisioning taking just minutes. We're discovering that we're no longer locked into cloud platform decisions based on where our data resides. And in cases where our data and applications are running on different platforms, Alkira has dramatically reduced the data gravity issues that have been a fundamental hindrance to our industry. As their network and security services marketplace grows, the value of the platform will also continue to grow. And we expect to continue to reduce and optimize our operations through day two capabilities built into the platform that are constantly getting better. Ultimately, this network cloud mental model is freeing up our teams to work on other opportunities and allowing us to take advantage of our data in ways that I wouldn't have thought possible a year or two ago. And I believe we're just scratching the surface. In fact, here at Koch, we believe in the Alkira team and their value in the platform so much that Koch Disruptive Technologies led the recently announced Series B investment in Alkira. I would certainly encourage you to take a look and see how they can advance your cloud journey as well. Amir?
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for providing details over your environment and sharing your thoughts. It's awesome to see a customer with the complexity of the environment and multi-cloud environment, as well as single cloud, and the level of depth and knowledge that your team has, both in traditional networking and the cloud networking. It's very encouraging to see that you're seeing such great value in the solution that Alkira is bringing to the table. Now, I think one of the things that I would like to ask you is to share your thoughts on the future of the network cloud. Where do you think the industry can go from here? And what is the potential of the solution like Alkira in the future for the industry, not only for Koch?
Yeah, so I think in a nutshell, it's simplification, right? So we run networks because we have to, not because we're the best at it and not because we make money at it. And so being able to leverage new and novel capabilities in the network cloud and be able to do those quickly at the speed of the business, not traditional IT, I think that's where, continuously developing those capabilities and expanding them is going to be a huge value to not just Koch, but all of your potential customers.
Also, could you kindly share your thoughts on your experience with a as a service solution versus the traditional SD-WAN type solutions, which is where the control plane resides in the cloud, and other types of solutions out there. In your experience, how is it very comprehensive? Is it you talked about simplicity, but what about the end-to-end nature of this capability and providing you with the comprehensive set of tools to manage a hybrid multi-cloud and extending beyond that in the future?
Yeah, great question. I think there's really three key things here, right? One, simplicity you hit on. I think just making our lives easier so we don't have to learn every new capability and every new cloud. I think that's huge, and that will help us move fast. I think the second piece is that end-to-end where we're able to see from the point we get on the network in all the way through into the cloud, being able to have that single pane of glass to see that all of the traffic and all the transactions that happen, I think is really powerful. And I think the last one is and we've experimented. Obviously, we've done quite a bit on our own, and we've looked at a lot of different capabilities around automation and orchestration as well. The problem with those is those leave us still owning and operating those assets at the end of the day, whereas in this as a service network cloud model, those things are all just part of the service. We don't have to worry about those underlying things.
Matt, for that, I would like to thank you for your participation today and sharing your thoughts with the industry, and looking forward to continuing to work with you and your team to take the Alkira solution to new heights, and being able to lead the industry in providing the network cloud solution, and continuing to enhancing that. So thank you again. Really appreciate it. Please visit us at www.alkira.com with any questions or any, if you would like to hear more about the Alkira solution, please feel free to reach out and fill out a form, and we'll be happy to respond to your request. Thanks again. Take care.
Thanks.